Hi, and congratulations on completing week 4 in our biblical interpretation course. I wanted to take a couple of minutes to review the assignments and touch on a few of the highlights for those who want pointers on what they might have missed this week that they can do better in week 5. I do think as I've graded through the assignments, we're doing a much better job on formatting and on the citations. And so now we can dive more into content while keeping up and practicing our formatting. So the goals for this week were to apply the interpretive methods utilized in the evaluation of poetry and prophecy and to analyze parallel structures in Hebrew poetry. Our first assignment was to list and discuss to create a list of types of parallelism in Psalm 8 and explain your decisions, and then to add 2 instances of inter-psalm connections. And on the inter-psalm connections, I thought folks did a really good job, but I wanted to show one example of a student as an example for what was missing in a few. Now, if we look over at types of parallelism, you'll see that this person has identified Psalm 8:1, verse 1 of Psalm 8, as synthetic. And so some folks missed that they needed to go into the type of parallelism and say whether this was synonymous or synthetic or antithetical, but to identify each verse as what type of parallelism. And here, which is really helpful, they've given me the verse in the explanation by saying, "O Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. You have set your glory above the heavens." And that's great. That is synthetic parallelism. And then they've gone on to say why. And they say, first of all, it's figurative language. It's a metaphor, the comparison of 2 unlikely things, glory and heavens. And they've done glory to majestic and heavens to earth in the parallel structure. It's synthetic. Here, the second line adds or completes the first line. The first line states that our Lord is majestic in all the earth. Then the second line adds more detail behind why our Lord is majestic in all the earth, and that is because he has set his glory above the heavens. Now, there's also some synonymous structures, and you could have gone either way, as long as you explained what synthetic meant and how synthetic applies to this passage, or how antithetic or synonymous work and how they are applied to the passage. You could even have given a quote as to how our textbook or an outside research analysis looks at Psalm 8:1 and how they define the type of parallelism. So there are lots of things you might have done. This is an example of one that I thought was really nicely written. Secondly, we have a discussion post. Having completed the interpretation assignment for this week, think about how the passage demonstrates an aspect of God's character. Try to complete the following statement. Based upon my reading of Psalm 8, I understand that God is a God who blank. And I thought that on whole the class did a really good job. I was looking for, as you complete the statement, try to keep in mind the manner in which the narrative portrays the relationship between God, humanity, and the world as explicit statements by the psalmist. And by that, I wanted you to reach beyond the psalm. So it's God is a God who blank, and as you explained whatever that characteristic is, I wanted passages outside of the psalm that support how God throughout the Bible demonstrates this characteristic. Then to look at research, whether it is outside research or our textbook, for a discussion of that characteristic. Now, a God who is majestic and yet still cares deeply for us, great answer. A nice addition of a secular definition for support, talking about majestic as an adjective, having or exhibiting sovereign power, having or exhibiting a royal bearing, having or exhibiting greatness. So being able to go over to the dictionary and say majestic How is that defined? And then how does the Bible support this definition? A good answer. Other ones that came up were protector, creator, worthy of worship. And that God is a God who values people and holds people in high regard because of his love. He shows grace and mercy. And then after that, I would expect some biblical passages in support or something from our textbook that gives support. God is disproportionately good to man, totally true, or a discussion of transcendent or immanent, that God is a God who is both close to us and far kind of looking down upon us. And so how does the psalm show us God's immanence or God's transcendence? So all of those are good answers as long as they are supported. Then this last slide is supposed to say congratulations, so I'll just say congratulations on finishing the week. I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with in week 5 and seeing how we develop into our next section. Have a great night, and I'll talk to you soon.